Have you ever spoken too much and regretted it later? That moment when you open your mouth, only to feel the weight of your words hanging in the air, powerless to take them back. We've all been there, haven't we? The feeling of overexposing ourselves, sharing too much, and losing control in the process. But what if I told you that silence, not speech, is the true form of power? Imagine for a moment that instead of speaking at every opportunity, you chose to listen more. You choose to stay silent in moments of tension, letting the silence speak louder than any word ever could. You choose to control your presence, your thoughts, your influence. By holding back, the concept of silence as power is something that many powerful figures in history understood, none more clearly than Niccolò Machiavelli, the great political strategist and philosopher. In his writings, Machiavelli states that the less you reveal, the more people will respect and fear you. This principle goes beyond mere political maneuvering. It speaks to the nature of influence itself. When you choose silence, you are sending a message that you are not desperate for attention, that you do not feel the need to validate yourself through words. You make others lean in, to seek your thoughts, to earn your respect. Silence, in its purest form, becomes a tool of mystery, authority, and strength. Think about some of the most powerful figures in the world: politicians, business leaders, celebrities. What do they all have in common? More often than not, they know when to speak, and perhaps even more importantly, when to remain silent. Silence is their weapon, and it's one that builds their mystique and strengthens their command over situations. Now, reflect for a moment. When was the last time you said something and wished you could take it back? When did your words leave you feeling weak, vulnerable, or misunderstood? What if, instead, silence could have elevated you? What if, by speaking less, you could hold more power? We often think of power in terms of words. The politician who speaks eloquently to rally a crowd, the leader who delivers a motivational speech, the influencer who uses every moment to capture attention. Words are tools we rely on daily, believing they hold the key to control, influence, and success. But what if I told you that, while words are powerful, silence can be even more so? This idea isn't new. Machiavelli, the Renaissance philosopher and strategist, understood this concept deeply. He believed that the art of power lay in withholding, in keeping people guessing. The less you reveal, the more people will fear and respect you. This simple yet profound truth carries immense weight. The idea that silence is a form of power can challenge everything we think we know about influence and leadership. So, what makes silence so powerful? At first glance, silence might seem like an absence, an empty space. But in reality, it's full of meaning. When we speak, we reveal parts of ourselves, our opinions, our feelings, our knowledge, even our insecurities. Every word we say is an opening, a window into our thoughts and vulnerabilities. But when we stay silent, we protect ourselves. We create a boundary, a shield that others cannot penetrate unless we allow it. Silence communicates strength. When we speak less, we create a sense of mystery around us. People begin to wonder, what is this person thinking? Why are they not speaking? What do they know that I don't? Silence invites curiosity, and curiosity often leads to respect. It's an unspoken invitation for others to step closer, to seek our approval, to listen more intently. This mystery is not a weakness. It's an incredibly powerful force. Imagine you're in a meeting with a group of colleagues. Everyone is speaking over each other, trying to have their opinions heard. The noise, the chatter, the clashing voices, it's chaos. Now, imagine that you sit there, calmly listening, absorbing everything. You don't interrupt. You don't argue. You choose silence. What happens? The room starts to shift. People begin to notice you. They wonder why you're not speaking. Are you disagreeing? Are you analyzing? Are you formulating something profound? Your silence becomes more powerful than any words could have been. You don't need to shout to be heard. Your presence alone commands attention. This is what Machiavelli understood. In his book The Prince, he outlines the importance of maintaining control over your image, and one of the key ways to do this is by controlling what you reveal. The less you reveal, the more mysterious and powerful you appear. This doesn't mean being deceptive, but rather being mindful of what you choose to share. Silence allows you to control the narrative. When you speak too often or too freely, you risk exposing your weaknesses. Your thoughts become predictable, your intentions clear. People begin to anticipate your every move. Silence, on the other hand, gives you the advantage of unpredictability. It's the tool of those who understand the subtle mechanics of power. Think about the great leaders and thinkers in history. Some of the most influential figures were not necessarily the loudest, but they knew how to use silence strategically. Nelson Mandela spent years in prison, speaking little but carrying with him a sense of quiet authority that commanded respect. Albert Einstein, often quiet and reserved, made his few words count. When he spoke, the world listened. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest individuals in the world, has often stated that his quiet nature is one of his greatest strengths. By speaking less, he creates a sense of authority and power in everything he does. Silence also allows you to observe. When everyone is busy talking, you can listen. You can read the room, understand the dynamics, and notice things that others miss. This is one of the greatest advantages of silence. You become the observer. You don't just react, you reflect. You understand. And when the time is right, you speak. But when you do, your words will be measured, deliberate, and impactful. In Machiavelli's world, silence was not just a form of speechlessness. It was an active choice, a tool of the strategist. It was a way to maintain power, to control the situation, to be seen not as desperate for validation, but as someone whose words were worth waiting for. It's about being the person that others look to when they need direction, the one whose silence speaks volumes. Silence, in the end, is a way of establishing dominance over both yourself and others. When you understand how and when to speak and when to stay silent, you regain control over your life. Silence is a powerful tool of leadership, influence, and self-mastery. Now, think about this. What would your life look like if you practiced the art of silence? If you didn't feel the constant need to explain yourself, to justify your decisions, to fill every gap with words? What could you achieve if you understood the power that silence can bring into every conversation, every negotiation, every interaction? In today's world, we are constantly encouraged to share. Social media, personal blogs, and constant communication have created a culture where over-explaining ourselves has become the norm. We feel the need to justify our actions, thoughts, and feelings to others. But there's a hidden danger in this constant need to overshare, one that most people don't fully realize until it's too late. When we speak too much, we risk losing control. Every word we say is like giving away a piece of our power. Once shared, words cannot be taken back. They exist in the world, influencing others and shaping how they perceive us. The more we reveal, the more vulnerable we become. We give others the chance to judge, to manipulate, and even to use our words against us. Machiavelli, in his timeless work The Prince, understood this truth deeply. He writes, "It is not the most intelligent who rule, but the most prudent, those who understand." That silence is often the wisest course. In a world where people constantly seek attention through words, silence becomes a tool of strength, control, and respect. When we overshare, we open doors that are better left closed. Take social media as an example. In the pursuit of connection, many of us overshare details of our lives' personal achievements, struggles, opinions, and emotions. While we might feel that sharing makes us relatable or authentic, It often leads to unintended consequences. Think about the last time you shared something personal online or in a conversation. Did it feel like a release, or did you later regret it? Perhaps you gave too much information and felt exposed. Maybe your vulnerability was misused, twisted, or misunderstood. It's a feeling we've all experienced, the regret of oversharing, when we realize we've given away too much too soon. This is the danger of speaking too much. Oversharing creates an image of desperation, the need for validation, and an attempt to control the narrative through constant speech. But in doing so, we lose the power to control the perception others have of us. The more we speak, the more our words define us. When we constantly give pieces of ourselves away, we forget that some pieces are valuable, sacred, and should be reserved for moments that truly matter. The danger lies in the misuse of power. Every word spoken is a potential weapon in someone else's hands. When we overshare, we give others the opportunity to twist our words, to misunderstand, and sometimes to use our vulnerabilities against us. This is why silence can be such a potent weapon. It allows us to protect ourselves from being manipulated or misrepresented. It's not about holding back information for the sake of being deceptive. It's about choosing when and how to reveal yourself. By speaking less, you create an aura of mystery around you. People will be more intrigued by you because you don't reveal everything. They will respect you more because they have to earn your words, rather than having them handed out freely. Think about the most powerful figures in history. Winston Churchill, for example, was known for his carefully crafted speeches, but he didn't speak unnecessarily. Every word he said carried weight. Franklin D. Roosevelt, too, knew when to hold his tongue. He wasn't known for constant chatter, but when he did speak, it was impactful. These leaders understood that in order to maintain their power, they had to remain somewhat elusive. They chose their words wisely and only spoke when it was necessary. And consider great negotiators and business leaders. They know the value of silence. Imagine a high-stakes business meeting where multiple executives are speaking at once, each trying to get their point across. What does the silent person in the room do? They sit back, observing, listening. They make others speak first, revealing their strategies, weaknesses, and opinions. In that silence, the observer gains valuable insights that can be used to their advantage. In the world of negotiations, silence is often the strongest tactic. By saying less, you allow others to talk more, giving you the opportunity to gather information, understand dynamics, and analyze situations without revealing your own position. Silence is not weakness, it's strategic thinking in motion. Dangers of oversharing also apply in our personal relationships. When we feel the need to constantly explain ourselves to others, we give away power in our interactions. Think about a moment when you felt the urge to explain your actions or justify yourself to someone. How did that feel? Did it give you a sense of empowerment, or did you feel smaller, as if you were pleading for approval? By sharing too much, we risk diluting the respect others have for us. They no longer see us as mysterious, powerful, or influential. They see us as predictable, open, and vulnerable. They stop listening to us with the same level of intrigue and instead start forming judgments based on the information we've shared. The key here is balance. Sharing is important, but it should be done strategically. You need to choose when and with whom to reveal parts of yourself. Not everyone deserves to know everything about you, and the more you reveal, the more you risk losing your sense of self and power. The goal is not to be silent all the time, but to be selective about when you speak and when you remain quiet. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into how silence, when used correctly, commands respect and gives you a power that words simply cannot match. In a world where everyone is speaking, shouting, and fighting for attention, silence stands as a powerful form of authority. We live in a time when it seems like everyone has something to say, yet the true leaders, the ones who truly command respect, are those who know when to stay silent. Silence doesn't make you weak, it makes you strategic. It gives you the power to control a situation, influence others, and maintain an aura of authority that words cannot replicate. Machiavelli, in his The Prince, understood the power of silence as a political tool. He didn't just advise leaders to keep quiet for the sake of secrecy. He understood that silence could project strength, confidence, and self-control. When you remain silent, you convey to others that you don't need to fill the air with words to maintain your status. You don't need to convince anyone of your power. It is self-evident. Consider the most powerful figures in history. Winston Churchill, one of the greatest leaders of the 20th century, was known for his eloquence in speech. However, he also understood the value of silence. During tense moments in World War II, Churchill knew when to remain silent, letting others speak, observe, and reveal their strategies. His silence made him appear calm, composed, and in control, while others scrambled to find solutions. This concept of strategic silence is not just applicable to politicians. It is relevant in every aspect of life. Whether you're in business, negotiating a deal, or even having a conversation with friends or family, knowing when to stay silent can be your most valuable tool. Silence forces others to act first, and when others act first, they reveal their intentions, weaknesses, and vulnerabilities. In business negotiations, silence can be one of the most effective tactics. Imagine you're sitting in a high-stakes meeting with potential business partners. Everyone is talking, trying to make their case. They are offering you terms, trying to persuade you, and in the midst of it all, you say nothing. You sit back and observe. By not speaking, you create a sense of mystery around your position. Your silence forces the others to talk more, to fill the air with their words. In doing so, they reveal more than they intended to. They give you information about their needs, their intentions, and their weaknesses, all of which you can use to your advantage. The power of silence lies in its ability to disarm others. When you don't speak, others are left wondering what you're thinking. They start analyzing your silence, trying to understand your intentions, and in that process, they often give away more than they should. Silence is not about being passive. It's about creating an atmosphere where your presence commands attention, and your words, when spoken, carry weight and authority. Think about some of the greatest public figures, those who have inspired millions with their words. But what many don't realize is that their silence is just as impactful as their speeches. Take Barack Obama, for instance. As president, Obama was known for his deliberate, calm demeanor. He wasn't one to engage in constant chatter or react impulsively to situations. His silence, especially in moments of tension, made him appear in control. When he spoke, it was with purpose and weight. His silence spoke volumes. In everyday life, silence also gives you the opportunity to listen. In conversations, we often feel the need to fill the silence with our words, to constantly express our thoughts and opinions. However, listening is just as important as speaking. Silence allows you to observe the dynamics of a conversation, to understand the emotions at play, and to gain insight into the other person's position. It also forces others to open up, to share more than they initially intended, and in doing so, you can better understand their thoughts and desires. In relationships, silence can be an incredibly powerful tool for creating respect. Often, we feel the need to justify our actions or defend ourselves when we feel misunderstood. But when we remain silent, we communicate that we are secure in ourselves and don't need to explain every action. This creates space for the other person to reflect, to understand, and to respect our position. Silence isn't about being passive or submissive. It's about holding your ground and letting others come to you. The beauty of silence is that it is a language in itself. It speaks volumes without a single word being uttered. It conveys strength, wisdom, and self-assurance. People are naturally drawn to those who don't speak impulsively, who don't seek attention or validation through constant chatter. Instead, they admire those who understand the power of restraint, who know when to speak and when to remain silent. One of the most striking things about silence is its ability to create an air of mystery. When you remain silent, you become unpredictable. People begin to wonder what you're thinking, and that sense of curiosity draws them in. You become a mysterious presence, someone whose thoughts and intentions are not immediately obvious, which, in turn, makes you more intriguing and respected. In the next section, we'll explore how silence not only commands respect, but also enables you to understand others better, gaining insight and power that words alone can't offer. Silence, in the end, is not just about withholding your words. It's about strategically using your presence to influence and lead others. In today's fast-paced world, we are conditioned to believe that speaking up is the key to success. The louder you are, the more attention you draw, the more influence you seem to have. But the truth is, not every moment calls for words. In fact, silence often speaks louder than anything you could say. When we think about silence versus speech, we must first recognize the power of each. Speech has the ability to convince, to inspire, to rally people behind a cause. It can sway hearts and minds in an instant. But silence, when used strategically, has the power to do something far more significant. It commands respect. It maintains authority, and it allows you to observe, to control, and to influence situations without ever uttering a single word. Let's break this down further. Think about the last time you were in a conversation or a meeting where everyone was trying to speak at once. Each person shouting their opinions, trying to outdo one another, each trying to assert dominance through words. In that moment, the loudest person in the room may appear to hold the most power. But do they really? The real power, as Machiavelli and countless other leaders understood, lies in strategic silence. The person who speaks the least, the one who doesn't jump into every discussion, is often the one who is most respected and feared. This person isn't desperate for attention, isn't trying to convince others of their worth with every sentence. Instead, they observe, they wait, and when they do speak, their words carry immense weight. It's a form of mastery over oneself and over the situation. Think about someone you've encountered who is known for their quiet strength. Maybe it's a leader at work, a teacher, or even someone in your family. They don't need to fill every silence with chatter. They don't need to explain themselves at every turn. When they do speak, their words are thoughtful, calculated, and measured. They have earned the respect of others because they have shown restraint, discipline, and an ability to command attention without demanding it. In contrast, the person who speaks constantly, who fills every silence with their thoughts and opinions, is often perceived as insecure or desperate. When words are constantly flowing, they lose their impact. People stop listening. The more we speak, the less authority our words have. This concept is especially important in leadership. Effective leaders understand that silence gives them the space to listen, to understand the needs, concerns, and dynamics of those they are leading. A leader who listens more than they speak has the opportunity to learn, to build trust, and to make decisions based on a deeper understanding of their environment. A leader who speaks too much may inadvertently alienate others, and worse, may miss key insights that could only have been revealed through careful observation and listening. Think about this in the context of negotiations. If you've ever been involved in a negotiation, you know that the one who speaks the most often gives up the most. The more you talk, the more you reveal about your position, your desires, and your weaknesses. The person who remains silent holds the upper hand. They allow the other party to speak, to reveal their terms and intentions, and in doing so, they gather information that can be used strategically. In Machiavellian terms, silence is not about weakness or fear, it's about control. It's about choosing the right moment to speak, ensuring that every word carries weight and impact. The less you say, the more powerful each word becomes. Think about business negotiations again. The person who speaks the least and listens the most is the one who ultimately gains the most. They observe body language, read the atmosphere, and wait for the perfect moment to make their move. They don't rush to fill the space with words, but rather allow others to expose their intentions. This strategic silence enables them to make the best decisions and secure the most favorable outcomes. In personal relationships, silence plays a crucial role as well. When you remain silent, you allow others the chance to reveal more about themselves. You can listen to their words, observe their actions, and understand their needs without reacting immediately. In a way, silence gives you the upper hand because you are not caught up in the rush of emotions or reactions. You maintain control over your own responses, and in doing so, you give yourself the space to make the best decisions. The key takeaway here is that silence is not about avoidance. It's about strategy. It's about making sure that your words have purpose, that when you do speak, your message is heard, understood, and respected. The louder you are, the more diluted your message becomes. The more you speak, the more you expose. But when you choose silence, you force others to come to you. You hold the power to shape the conversation, to shape the narrative. In the end, it's not about whether speech or silence is better. It's about knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. The true power lies in mastery of both. In the next section, we'll explore how silence not only builds respect, but also allows you to understand and connect with others on a deeper level, creating a more powerful influence than words alone ever could. Now that we've explored the immense power of silence, it's time to focus on how you can use silence strategically to gain control, influence, and respect in your daily life. Silence is not a passive state. It's an active tool that, when used correctly, can elevate your presence, sharpen your decision-making, and amplify your leadership. The key is knowing when and how to remain silent. So, let's break down the steps to use silence effectively. Whether in your personal or professional life, one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to harness the power of silence is to pause before responding. Often, we feel pressured to answer immediately, especially in heated conversations or negotiations. We think that if we don't speak up right away, we'll appear weak or uncertain. But in reality, taking a moment to pause before you respond can dramatically change the outcome of any interaction. When you pause, you give yourself time to think, to process what has been said, and to decide on the best course of action. This moment of silence also signals to others that you are in control of your emotions and your reactions. By waiting, you demonstrate that you are not impulsive or easily swayed. Your silence gives you the space to reflect, and it forces the other person to wonder what you're thinking. For example, in business meetings, when someone presents an idea or proposal, don't be the first to speak. Take a moment to evaluate the information, think critically, and then respond with a more informed and calculated perspective. This creates an air of mystery around your intentions and makes others respect your decision-making process. Another key aspect of using silence strategically is to resist the urge to over-explain yourself. When we feel insecure or uncertain, we tend to over-explain our actions, thoughts, or decisions in an effort to convince others that we are right or to gain their approval. But over-explaining only weakens our position. It makes us seem desperate for validation and causes us to lose the sense of authority and control that silence can provide. Next time you find yourself in a situation where you feel the need to explain every detail, stop yourself. Let the silence hang in the air for a moment. You don't owe anyone an explanation for every choice you make. Instead, let your actions speak for themselves. Silence creates space for others to reflect on your decisions, and it forces them to earn your words rather than taking them for granted. Silence allows you to observe the situation at hand. In conversations, meetings, or negotiations, try to spend more time listening than speaking. The power of observation is often underestimated. When you remain silent, you allow others to reveal their true intentions, beliefs, and desires. This information is golden because it gives you insight into how to respond effectively. For instance, in a business negotiation, instead of jumping in with your counteroffer, take a moment to listen to the other party. Let them talk and reveal more about their position. Their words will provide clues about what they want and how they might be willing to negotiate. This kind of listening not only gives you valuable information, but also helps you maintain a calm, composed presence, which people respect. In situations where you want to build anticipation or drama, silence can be a powerful tool. Think about great public speakers or leaders. When they pause at key moments during a speech, it keeps the audience on the edge of their seats. Silence creates a moment of tension, making people lean in, eager to hear what comes next. You can apply this same tactic in your personal or professional life. If you have an important point to make, don't rush to say it. Build anticipation by waiting for the right moment, and when you speak, your words will carry far more weight. In meetings, presentations, or even casual conversations, a well-timed pause before speaking gives your words more impact. Silence can also be a powerful tool to control a conversation. When you remain silent, others are often forced to speak more to fill the void. People become uncomfortable with silence and often rush to fill it, revealing more information than they intended to. By strategically remaining silent, you can guide the flow of conversation and get people to reveal more than they might have wanted to. For example, in a negotiation or discussion with someone who is trying to push you into a decision, staying silent after they make their point can create discomfort. As the silence stretches, they may feel the need to justify themselves further, offering you additional concessions or giving away more information about their position. One of the most powerful techniques in strategic silence is the silent stare. This is particularly useful in situations where you want to assert dominance or make someone uncomfortable. When you hold eye contact without speaking, you send a clear message that you are not intimidated, that you are fully in control of the situation, and that you will not back down. The silent stare isn't about aggression. It's about asserting confidence and power through your presence. It's a simple but effective way to make people respect you without uttering a single word. It shows that you don't need to speak to command attention. Using silence strategically is about mastery of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. It's about knowing when to speak and when to hold back, when to reveal your position, and when to remain an enigma. Silence gives you the power to control your environment without having to explain yourself constantly, to influence others without force, and to command respect without saying a word. In the next section, we'll take a deeper dive into how silence can help you build deeper connections, strengthen relationships, and become an even more powerful force in your personal and professional life. Because silence is not just about what you keep to yourself. It's about what it enables you to understand, to observe, and to create. Throughout this journey, we've explored how silence is not just the absence of sound, but a strategic tool. A form of power that can be harnessed to influence, control, and lead. Now, as we near the end of this exploration, it's time to reflect on the transformation that silence can bring to your life. The truth is, silence can make you a completely different person. It has the ability to elevate your influence, change how others perceive you, and most importantly, it helps you to reclaim control over your own life. Silence isn't a passive act. It's an empowering choice that shapes the world around you. One of the most profound effects of embracing silence is the inner strength it cultivates. When you choose silence, you choose to step away from the noise and chaos of the world. You give yourself the space to reflect, to process, and to understand. This moment of stillness allows you to connect with a deeper part of yourself, a part that isn't driven by external opinions or pressures. By practicing silence, you learn to master your thoughts, emotions, and reactions. You no longer feel the need to respond immediately to every challenge or to react impulsively to every situation. Instead, you become more intentional with your words, choosing when and how to express yourself in a way that maximizes your impact. This inner strength isn't just about quietness, it's about control, discipline, and the confidence that comes from knowing you don't need to speak in order to be heard. The ability to remain silent also leads to clearer decision-making. When we're constantly talking, debating, or just filling the air with noise, it becomes difficult to think clearly. Our minds get cluttered with the opinions of others, with our own need to be heard, and with the desire to fit in. This noise makes it hard to hear our own inner voice, the one that knows what's truly right for us. By embracing silence, you give yourself the space to think clearly. You allow your intuition to surface, to guide you towards decisions that align with your true self. Silence gives you the gift of clarity, the clarity to see situations for what they truly are, the clarity to make decisions based on your values and your long-term goals, not based on momentary emotions or external influences. It might sound counterintuitive, but silence can actually strengthen relationships. In conversations, especially in relationships where emotions run high, we often feel the need to fill every pause with words. We want to fix things, to offer advice, or to explain ourselves. But sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is to simply listen. Silence in relationships creates space for understanding, for connection, and for empathy. When you listen without interrupting, without offering solutions, you allow the other person to feel truly heard. You create an environment of trust where the other person feels safe to express themselves. This kind of silence doesn't create distance. It closes the gap between you and the other person. It strengthens bonds, fosters deeper understanding, and creates mutual respect. As we've seen throughout this discussion, silence has an incredible ability to enhance your influence. The more you speak, the less weight your words carry. People start to tune you out, and your message gets diluted. But when you speak less, when you silence as a strategic tool, people start paying closer attention. They wonder what you're thinking, why you're not speaking, and what you have to say when you finally do. This kind of influence isn't built on loud speeches or constant chatter. It's built on mystery, presence, and the power of restraint. When you speak less, your words are more powerful. They carry more weight. People listen more intently because they know that when you do speak, it will be something that matters. One of the most transformative effects of silence is the way it empowers you to create. In a world filled with distractions, constant communication, and endless noise, it's difficult to find the space to think, reflect, and create. But when you embrace silence, you open up the space for creativity and innovation to flourish. Silence allows you to step away from the constant pressure of external expectations. It lets you reconnect with your inner vision, your true creative potential. In those moments of stillness, you can access a deep well of ideas, insights, and solutions that you might not have otherwise found. The ultimate transformation that silence brings is freedom. The more you practice silence, the less dependent you become on the opinions and validation of others. You stop feeling the need to justify yourself, to explain your decisions, or to fill every silence with words. You become free from the constant pressure to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. Silence frees you from the need for external validation. It frees you from the cycle of over-explaining, over-justifying, and overcompensating. You stop being a prisoner of your own words and instead become the master of your thoughts and actions. By embracing silence, you open yourself up to true freedom, the freedom to be yourself, to act with purpose, and to make decisions that align with your deepest values. Silence gives you the power to create your own narrative, to shape your own path, and to become the person you were always meant to be. As we conclude this journey, remember that silence is not a weakness, nor is it a passive retreat. It is a strategic tool for power, influence, and respect. Silence enables you to observe, to listen, to reflect, and to act with intention. It allows you to shape the narrative, to control the conversation, and to command the respect of others. The next time you find yourself in a situation where you are tempted to speak impulsively, take a moment to pause. Reflect on the power of silence and choose when and how to reveal your thoughts. Embrace silence as your ally and watch how it transforms your life.